You know, people love to talk about how sweet old ladies are. Oh, Mrs. Collins always waves from her porch. Or, Grandma June makes the best cookies. Well, here's something they don't say out loud. Once you hit a certain age, people stop seeing you as a person and start seeing you as a problem. I baked a darn pie. That's how this whole mess started. It was Tuesday, early fall, still warm enough for the leaves to crackle under your feet, but cool enough to make you want something with cinnamon in it. I live alone, which apparently is already suspicious. My husband died 10 years ago, a heart attack in aisle 5 of the grocery store. He collapsed holding a bottle of maple syrup. I always said that man had a sweet tooth. Anyway, I was feeling generous that morning. A new family had moved into the yellow house across the street, the one with the cracked bird bath and an American flag that looked like it had been through a divorce. I figured I'd welcome them the way decent people used to, with food. So I made my signature apple pie. Golden crust, hand-sliced Granny Smiths, the kind of pie that makes men propose and children behave. I wrapped it in a red checkered towel, fixed my hair, and walked across the street. I didn't expect a parade, but I also didn't expect the door to open like I was delivering a bomb. A woman in her 30s, tall, yoga pants, fake smile, peeked out. "Hi there," I said, chipper as a Sunday school teacher. "Just thought I'd say welcome. I made something for your family." She glanced at the pie like it was radioactive. "Oh, that's, nice." She didn't take it. "Just a little something," I continued, holding it out. "I'm Hazel. I live right there." "Oh, well, we don't really do sugar, or gluten, or carbs." I blinked. "It's a pie, dear, not a crisis." She chuckled nervously, took the towel-wrapped pie with 2 fingers, like it was dripping, and said, "We also don't really, engage much with neighbors, for privacy reasons." And then came the line. The 4 words, the ones that burned like acid. "You're making us uncomfortable." Just like that. Delivered with the grace of a tax audit. I stood there, holding an empty towel, feeling like someone had reached into my chest and flicked off a light. I smiled. Bless my heart, I smiled, and said, "Well, welcome to the neighborhood," before turning around and walking back to my house, pieless and dignity in shambles. And you'd think that would be the end of it. A weird moment? A bad welcome? Move on. But no. 2 days later, my son shows up. Peter, capital letters. The man who calls twice a month like it's a chore and signs his texts with periods like he's angry at punctuation. He didn't come alone. His wife, Sandra, the woman with the emotional range of a saltine cracker, came too. "Mom," he said, as soon as I opened the door, "we need to talk." Sure, they always need to talk when it's about what I've done wrong. We sat at the kitchen table. I served coffee they didn't touch. "We got a call," he said, "from your neighbor. Something about concerning behavior." I stared. "You mean the pie?" Sandra sighed like I'd just confessed to robbing a bank. "Hazel, you can't go around knocking on doors unannounced. That's not how people do things anymore." "Since when is kindness inappropriate?" I snapped. Peter shifted. "They said you made the children uncomfortable, that you were too forward, that maybe you need help." "Help?" I said. "I'm not losing my mind, Peter. I'm not some stray animal you need to lock up." "You're not listening." "No, you're not listening," I barked. "I baked a pie. I welcomed a family. If that makes me a threat, then the world has lost its direction." Peter stood up. "We're going to look into a facility, a safe place, where you can be with people your age." "Oh, you mean exile? Wonderful." Sandra placed a pamphlet on the table. A pamphlet. They left 20 minutes later, leaving behind cold coffee and an inferno in my chest. You'd think that was the lowest point. Think again. The very next morning, a letter showed up from the HOA, the Homeowners Association, also known as the Neighborhood Patrol. It said I had violated community trust, that my behavior had been disturbing, that further complaints could result in formal action. I sat there, reading that letter in my floral robe, wondering how we got to a place where baking got you blacklisted. I haven't left my house in 3 days, not because I'm scared, but because if I see one more smug, side-eyeing jogger look at me like I'm a loaded weapon, I might actually throw a pie at someone. They took one kind act and twisted it. They turned me into a problem, and I'm just getting started. What happened next changed everything. You don't want to miss how this spiraled out of control, and how I found out who really pulled the strings. You know that saying, "No good deed goes unpunished"? Whoever came up with that wasn't being clever. They were giving a warning, and I should have listened. Because after the pie, after Peter's surprise intervention and that HOA letter, I expected things to settle. I thought maybe it would blow over. It didn't. I woke up the next morning to a voicemail from a woman who spoke like she swallowed a rulebook. It was from the HOA chairwoman, Linda Farber, a woman who once complained that my begonias were too aggressive for the color palette of the neighborhood. She requested, no, demanded, that I attend a courtesy review with the board to discuss my pattern of engagement. Pattern? What pattern? I offered a pie. Once. Still, I went. I put on my navy cardigan, the one with the pearl buttons, and my clean shoes. I even brushed my hair into a bun so tight I nearly pulled out my memories. I thought, if I look composed, maybe they'll treat me like a human being. Big mistake. There were 5 of them, sitting in folding chairs like a church tribunal. Linda, of course, was in the center, wearing a lemon-colored blazer and a smile that could slice concrete. "Hazel, we're here to talk about your interactions with the Millers," she began. "The who?" "The new family on your street." "Oh, you mean the ones I greeted with a pie?" Linda smiled like I'd confirmed a war crime. "They felt your visit was invasive. They also mentioned you watched their children for extended periods." I nearly choked. I looked out my window. "Their children were playing outside, Hazel." "Yes, that's what windows are for, so you can see outside." A man on the panel scribbled something, probably hostile tone. Linda cleared her throat. "Hazel, this isn't an accusation. It's an opportunity to reconsider how you engage with the community." "Oh, I'm reconsidering, all right." They let me talk, sort of. I tried to explain how I've lived here longer than the pavement, how I've hosted bake sales, donated to the school, even picked up litter no one else would touch. But none of that mattered. They weren't interested in who I was, only what I might become. A liability. And then Linda said the quiet part out loud. "Hazel, perhaps it's time to think about transitioning to a more supportive environment." A supportive environment? Like what? A padded room? I left that meeting with my back straight and my heart fractured. And that's when I knew. They weren't going to stop until I disappeared. Later that afternoon, I went to the mailbox, and that's when I saw it. The note. No envelope. Just a folded piece of paper tucked under the flag. "Keep your distance. Last warning." Typed. No signature. My hands shook. Not from fear, but from rage. I wasn't some villain in a mystery novel. I was a woman who made a damn pie. And now I was the town's cautionary tale. I sat down on the porch and stared across the street. Their curtains twitched. They were watching. Always watching. So I waved, slowly, like a queen addressing peasants. That evening, I called my daughter Lauren. I told her everything. Her response? Well, Mom, maybe just lay low for a while. Lay low? This isn't a heist, Lauren. This is my life. I hung up without saying goodbye. Then I did something petty, because petty was all I had left. I put a lawn gnome on the edge of my property line. Just one. A red hat, a smug face, staring directly at the Miller house. By morning, someone had knocked it over. That same day, 2 neighbors crossed the street when they saw me coming. Another stopped me to suggest I attend a community mindfulness seminar. As if deep breathing would erase the slow erasure of my humanity. I started to notice patterns. Garbage cans placed just a little too close to my driveway. Neighborhood kids no longer saying hello. Flyers for senior care facilities mysteriously appearing in my mailbox. I didn't sign up for this subscription, thank you very much. And then came the final straw. I went to the community center for bingo night, a tradition I helped start, mind you, and found my name missing from the sign-up sheet. I asked the organizer why. We thought maybe you needed a break, she said, not meeting my eyes. A break. So that's what I'd become. A burden so awkward they couldn't even say it to my face. But I wasn't going to disappear quietly. Number. If they thought I was going to go down with a cup of tea and a crossword puzzle, they had another thing coming. I had a plan. And the first step was reminding them exactly who I am. This is the turning point. Everything you've been waiting for, the betrayal, the spark, the fight, it's all about to happen. Stay with me. You'll want front row seats when I take back control. You'd be amazed how fast silence can become a weapon. I wasn't being yelled at. No one came banging on my door. No torches, no pitchforks. But the quiet? The sidelong glances, the careful avoidance, the polite little, "Oh, I didn't see you there," lies. It was deafening. I used to get Christmas cards from half the block. Now, I was lucky if someone didn't pretend their phone rang the moment they saw me coming. So, I started keeping notes. Literal ones. I made a folder, read, because why not be dramatic? And started logging every snub, every neighbor who suddenly forgot I existed. Every flyer mysteriously slipped under my doormat. Every sarcastic comment someone muttered while walking their labradoodle. But I wasn't collecting for fun. I had a plan. It started with the one thing people in this town feared more than God or tax increases. Reputation. I began digging. Nothing crazy, just a little harmless research. HOA meeting minutes, public record, building violations, Google, PTA meeting scandals. You'd be surprised how sloppy people are when they think no one's watching. Ironic, considering what they accused me of. Linda Farber, my dear HOA queen, had an unpermitted gazebo. Oh yes, built 6 inches over the regulation height and without a single documented variance. Shocking, I know. Even better, her son, the same one she bragged about sending to Georgetown, suspended for academic dishonesty. I didn't even have to dig that one up. Facebook told me. So I typed, and printed, and highlighted. I prepared a packet, 13 pages, double-sided, and sealed it in a nice envelope with a gold sticker. Then I mailed it, not to Linda, to the HOA board, city planning, and, just for fun, the local paper's anonymous tip line. Step 1, ignite. Step 2, remind people who they were messing with. That Sunday, I baked another pie. Blueberry this time. Not to deliver. Just to fill the house with the smell of defiance. Then I did something truly scandalous. I put a chair on my lawn, sat there, knitted. I didn't even look at the Miller house. Didn't have to. My very presence was now a protest. Two kids rode by on scooters and waved. Their mom pulled them back like I was a cactus. But the thing is, when people think you're going to crumble and you don't, when you just keep existing, it rattles them. And that's when the email came, from an HOA board member, not Linda. It read, "Hazel, I've reviewed your recent correspondence. You've made some compelling points. Would you be open to attending the next board meeting as a participant?" I laughed so hard I nearly spilled tea on my victory pie. But I wasn't done. The next day, I printed up a flyer. Nothing fancy, just big, bold letters. Neighborhood Watch Meeting. Protect our elders too. And I posted them. Mailbox posts, community boards, even a few lamp poles. The title was Bait, and they bit. About 20 people showed up. Some out of curiosity, a few out of guilt. But a few, came because they felt it too. That slow fade, that subtle exclusion, that ache of being treated like leftover furniture. We talked, I listened, stories poured out. Turns out I wasn't the only one who had become invisible. By the end of the meeting, we had plans. Not revenge, not yet, but presence. We'd show up, speak at town halls, join committees, volunteer, be seen, loudly. They wanted to silence me. Instead, they gave me a microphone. And the thing about microphones? Once someone hands you one, you don't give it back. You think this was fire? Wait till you see who tries to shut me down next, and what I do when they come for me again. The fight's not over. It's just getting louder. You'd think after 3 months of silent exile, neighborhood gossip, and a bingo blacklist, I'd be ready to fade into the wallpaper. That's what they were hoping for. But let me tell you something about old women. The moment you treat us like ghosts, we come back louder than ever. It all started at the HOA meeting. Yes, I showed up. Pearls, lipstick, and a folder full of hellfire. I had notes, records, and a list of every courtesy violation ever enforced in the last 5 years, color-coded by absurdity. Linda was there, of course, looking like the president of a homeowner's cult. When she saw me, her smile froze like she just bit into a lemon wedge. The room was packed. Turns out, people love a showdown. I waited my turn, sat there calmly, while Linda droned on about fence heights and seasonal wreath etiquette. Then they gave me the floor. I didn't scream. I didn't shake. I told a story. I told them how it feels to be erased in your own home, to go from neighbor to nuisance overnight, to be treated like a liability for doing something as radical as offering kindness. I looked them in the eye and said, "You didn't just come for me. You came for who I represent." Some squirmed. Some nodded. Then I opened the folder. Let's just say Linda's unpermitted gazebo became quite the topic of discussion. Along with a few other things, a hush fell over the room that said, maybe we messed with the wrong granny. But this wasn't about revenge. Not anymore. It was about reclaiming space. That night, I was approached by 2 other women, widows. Both said they felt like they'd been quietly erased. One of them had been denied a community garden plot because she wasn't active enough. The other was forced to take down a swing her husband built because it didn't match the HOA palette. We started something that night. Not a rebellion, a reawakening. Over the next few weeks, we held meetings. Real ones. In kitchens, at the park. People came. People listened. We didn't shout. We organized. By spring, we had a name. The Porchlight Circle. Our mission? Make sure no one gets pushed into the shadows just because they age out of the local party line. We started checking on elders who lived alone. Helped them with paperwork. Showed up to speak on their behalf when they couldn't. We reminded the town We're still here. And then came the local paper. A reporter called, said she'd heard about the movement, asked if she could do a piece. I told her, sure, but you better bring a big notepad. I've got years of things to say. The story ran with a photo of me holding a pie in one hand and a binder in the other. Headline: She was called a threat for baking. Now she's leading a neighborhood movement. Guess who came by the next week with a store-bought pie and a shaky smile? Sandra, Peter's wife. She handed it to me like it weighed 50 pounds and said, I think we might have misunderstood you. I took the pie, smiled. I'm not interested in being understood, I told her. I'm interested in being respected. And that was that. So no, I didn't move into a supportive environment. I built my own. And if that makes me uncomfortable to the Millers of the world, good. Because the next time someone tries to erase a woman like me, they'll think twice. We are not invisible. We are not fragile. And we do not go quietly. We bake. We speak. We stay.